Good morning. Welcome you all to the international seminar, Strategies for Sustainable Growth and Profit Maximization of the Steel Industries. We have gathered here in this special session to pay tribute to late Dr. Amit Chatterjee, the man of steel. Dr. Chatterjee was the founder editor of the Steel Tech Journal, a legend of his time. Dr. Amit Chatterjee did his graduation from BHU in metallurgy, and then he obtained his PhD from the Imperial College, London. He was among the few Indians to receive the DSc in engineering from University of London for his phenomenal work in the area of coal-based direct reduction and oxygen steelmaking during his tenure in Tata Steel R&D. After his esteemed leadership in R&D of Tata Steel, this internationally acclaimed metallurgist became the founder managing director of Tata Sponge Iron. He superannuated from Tata Steel as the advisor of the managing director in 2011. On 5th of June 2014, he passed away in Jamshedpur. We are remembering and paying homage to him during the 10th year of his demise. His close associates, who are the luminaries from the industries, will be speaking on him, but before that, there is an audio-visual. I request Madam Shushmita Addi to play the same. Thank you so much.
Namaskar, good morning. On behalf of Steel Tech and on my personal behalf, it's 9 o'clock. It's Monday, 5th September. Steel Tech's seminar has to begin. I've got 5 minutes and I don't know how to fill up those 5 minutes. But the two gentlemen on my right, they wish to have 15 to 20 minutes to finish their talks. And if there's one thing we take pride in Steel Tech seminars is that we must work on time. So welcome once again on my personal behalf, on behalf of Steel Tech. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. September, as you know, is the time when we have our seminars. Last year it was an iron making. It was all red and orange in this hall. This year it's more sedate, it's more seductive, it's more predictable. Therefore the color is green and therefore it's steel. Last year there was a tall beast, fat on the waist, size only increasing all the time. This year we have steel, where you have reactors of different shapes and sizes, starting from 1 ton, 2 ton, right up the way to 400 tons. Take your choice. Beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. Lots of things have changed over the years. In the year 2010 to 11, major changes have occurred in Kolkata itself. Calcutta became Kolkata a couple of years back. The name of the state has changed to Paschim Bongo. Those of you who have difficulty pronouncing that name, once you have a Rasgulla in your mouth, you can pronounce that name. That's for sure. All of you must have seen Prasoon Joshi and Mr. Amitabh Bachchan saying, Mera desh ro raha hai. For those of you who are foreigners, it means India is weeping. Actually, it is not India which is weeping. It is the world as a whole which is weeping. And perhaps the steel industry is weeping the most. The fact that some people think that this is a transient state, we will pass through it, is a good omen for India. It is something that we hope won't last for long. And in this situation that so many of you have turned up for this seminar is itself testimony to to what Steel Tech is all about. I have been the chief editor of Steel Tech for the last 7 years, ever since Mr. B.P. Sarkar launched the magazine. And we have this annual seminar. And before proceeding any further, let me welcome all of you to the seminar and thank each and every one of you for having been a supporter of what we try and do. We don't believe in lighting a lamp. We don't think that adds any value to a technical seminar. But we do believe that at a time when things are not going good, that is the time to introspect, that is the time to make decisions, that is the time to think of spending money. Because only in that way will you get out of the recession that you are in. The steel industry has seen recession in the past, will see recessions in the future, but it's only by taking well-judged decisions that you will get out of the morass that is prevailing at the present time.
Thank you, Shushmita. The first speaker in this special session is Mr. B.P. Sarkar, who does not need any introduction to the Steel Tech fraternity. However, we are briefly presenting his profile. He did his BE in metallurgy from B College, which is currently IIEST, in the year of 1965 and joined Tata Steel Limited. He has worked in different capacities in Tata Steel. He was a close associate of Dr. Amit Chatterjee, and he is one of the founder members of the Steel Tech. With this, I have the privilege to invite Mr. Sarkar to come on to the dais and pay his tribute to Dr. Chatterjee.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here today. When this audiovisual was being shown, I was feeling as if Dr. Chatterjee really giving his welcome speech. And welcome speech is not only as technical as you have seen, he will mix up with Amitabh Bachchan, Bips, and Bipasha Basu, and all kind of things. And it was a really very lively session, starting from a welcome address itself. Dr. Chatterjee, as you know, his main interest was use of indigenous coal and direct reduction. It is in his DNA. I remember in 1964 when we were having college tour, industry tour in Jamshedpur, we met his father, Dr. A.B. Chatterjee, who was the assistant director in NML, and we were shown low shaft blast furnace in which he used to work. After joining Tata Steel, I was in the worst, Jamshedpur. I met him, I think, Dr. Chatterjee around 72 in the worst itself. Well, he was all to us itself. Although we were graduate trainee, he was not only metallurgist from BHU. He did his PhD in imperial science, as Dr. Bhattacharya was saying. Then he worked in Thyssen, Germany. He knew Germany very well. With all these, he came and joined Tata Steel, and he was very aggressive in his, to us at that time, very confident what he was doing. So I was a little shaky to be with him and approach him. In around early 80s, we met in some seminars in which we went for Tiscon promotion Dr. Chatterjee, Dr. Mukherjee, Dr. Ajmani, and myself from marketing used to be there. But then main attraction was always Dr. Amit Chatterjee because of his oratory skill, which is a very big, very famous for it. After that, I was not in much touch. We knew that he was doing very well. He was head of R&D in Tata Steel. Then he became managing director in Tata Sponge Iron. And then finally, in 2003, I retired, and then he perhaps retired maybe 2004, and then became advisor to MD Tata Steel. After retirement in 2003, I was advisor to a few companies and associate also with some journal. Somehow the journals I saw, they're managed by some commerce graduate. And in one occasion, I saw one commerce graduate telling Danieli chairman in India what he should do and what he should not do. So I was just wondering and got a little bit amused. I mean, if he can say and guide Danieli chairman what he should do, then I as a metallurgist also should do something. Then I talked to Dr. Amit Chatterjee with a lot of courage and all things gathering, and approached him, can we do something? Because I don't have any idea, except that I worked in Tata Steel and later in marketing. He said, by the time he was already in his disability, physical disability, right from perhaps 90s onwards. But then he encouraged me. He said, you start it, I'm there. And then I get all this administrative work, registration of a journal, Steel Tech in between 2005 and 6, and ultimately it came out in 2006. I just could not believe the editorial board page. It contains all luminaries of academia, R&D, and industry company. It was J.J. Irani was member. Dr. Debashish Bhattacharya is here. He was R&D chief. Mr. Bhaskar Roy is here. He was director M.N. Dastur. Professor Indranil Manna, IIT Kharagpur. And all luminaries, almost 12 to 14, all readily became editorial board member of Steel Tech Journal, and it started in 2006. In 2007, we got a letter from Secretary Steel, Mr. R.N. Sharma. They saying, I don't know who is sending me in Steel Tech Journal, but I find this one of the best technical journal in India. I've never seen such technical contents. So we are related. It's all because, of course, Dr. Amit Chatterjee. With all his disability, we are just wondering, how he could do, word by word, used to check all the articles. And he used to say, this is a comma, full stop, and all this thing, you'll have to do it. And he was telling me that no journal is perfect, but try to see that it is at least 95% correct, there is no mistake. He used to edit all the articles, whatever was coming to him. As we get finance, sorry, I'm taking slightly more time. I had no problem, because whomever he sees, he knows or not, he said, Dr. Chatterjee speaking. Whether it's a managing director or anybody, he will say, yes sir, what can I do for you? So we used to get sponsorship, advertisement, and technical papers. There was no problem at all. He traveled widely in the world, giving speeches. His wife, Jenny Chatterjee, I requested him to come today because she was a great inspiration and helped Dr. Chatterjee for his movement and going to various places for this presentation, but she could not come. She's in Bangalore. About the timing part he was mentioned in the audiovisual, I remember it was exactly 9 means 9 and not 9:05 even. Question answer session. In one of the session, Mr. Peter Joneveld, who is MD Danieli Chorus from Netherlands, he was asking too many questions and the time was over. He said, Mr. Joneveld, one more question. I'll see that you are out of the hall. Next year, he became lunch sponsor and dinner sponsor. So he has got wonderful capability to make friends, both here in India and outside. He has got oratory skill, he knew German language, whether even chief technology officer from Prime Metals. He came continuously for 6 years, from 12 onwards. And he saw luminaries from various industries to there. Unfortunately, he passed away in 14. But still, with all his innovation, I think he enjoyed his life. And he was so much in demand that there's something, or event management in UAE and other Southeast countries, they used to bear all the expenditure of not only his travel, his wife and one assistant. It is a sort of a legendary person that way. So with that momentum, we are just carrying on from 14 onwards, and the seminar is going on. I remember the first seminar was in 2009. We took one pala of Taj Bengal for about 70 people. So 150 people came. Next time we took 3 palas in Taj Bengal, and we had 300 people, and we had to stop it. And such was his attraction that people wanted to be there in Amit Chatterjee's seminar. It is still going on. We are trying our best to carry on. Although he is not there, his influence still lingers on. And the one thing I'll tell you, in my entire career of Tata Steel, if I remember the best gift I've got from Tata Steel, it is Amit Chatterjee. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I request Mr. Bhaskar Roy to please come here and speak a few words. Mr. Bhaskar Roy, a 1969 graduate in metallurgy from IIT Kanpur. He joined MN Dostur in the year of 1970. He worked there for 43 years. Last 10 years, he was in the board of directors. He also worked as Secretary General of IIM. He has got several awards and honors, amongst that Tata Gold Medal and honorary membership of IIM should be worth mentioning. With this, I request Mr. Roy to please come.
Thank you, Dr. Tanmoy, and good morning to our friends here. After the wonderful audiovisual we had on Dr. Chatterjee, it's very difficult to speak even a few words on him, because I think that audiovisual sums him up so beautifully. I will try to be brief, because Dr. Chatterjee was a stickler for time, and I will make up for the extra time that Mr. B.P. Sarkar would have taken. My first acquaintance with Dr. Chatterjee took place over 3 decades ago during an ECAFE conference, Economic Commission for Asia and the Far East, which was held in Bangkok on direct reduction. This was the beginning of a long and fulfilling association with him. Subsequently, we used to have frequent interactions in the context of the EP Tata direct reduction plant. I've had the privilege of having numerous interactions with Dr. Chatterjee on the direct reduction process, especially coal-based rotary kiln process. While Dr. Chatterjee was writing the book on alternative iron-making processes, one day he called me up. He said, Bhaskar, do you have any information on the NSCDR process of Nippon Steel Corporation? Because he knew that I had visited the demonstration plant of Nippon's NSCDR at Hirohata in Japan. So I was more than glad to provide him with whatever information I had on the NSCDR plant at Hirohata, and he used it beautifully in that book on alternative iron making processes. I have been an ardent admirer of Dr. Chatterjee regarding the art of making presentations. In fact, I have always considered him as a role model with regard to making presentations. Dr. Chatterjee was a stickler for punctuality, and he could be brutal to speakers who did not keep to their allotted time slots. I used to feel really honored when he used to call on me after many a seminar of Steel Tech and ask me to do the overall summing up of the proceedings. I considered it an honor. When he selected me as a member of the editorial board of Steel Tech. That was another moment of great honor and pride for me. All in all, he was a technical giant who stood head and shoulders above his compatriots. Dr. Chatterjee, you have been the driving force of Steel Tech, and you will always be missed by us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Roy. I request Dr. Bhattacharjee, Dr. Debashish Bhattacharjee to come here now and to speak a few words. Dr. Bhattacharjee is a globally acclaimed metallurgist. He did his PhD in Cambridge as a Nehru Cambridge Fellow. He is in Tata Steel since 1996, and currently he is Vice President, Technology and R&D. He worked very closely with Dr. Chatterjee. He has received several awards and honors, amongst that Metallurgist of the Year from the Government of India, Tata Gold Medal, honorary membership of IIM, should be very important to mention, and he has also been selected for National Metallurgist Award 2022 in 2022. He is a fellow of National Academy of Engineering also. With this, I request Dr. Bhattacharjee please to come on the dais.
Thank you, Tanmay. Without further ado, good morning, everyone, and I'm grateful that you have invited me, and especially on this occasion, to reminisce Dr. Amit Chatterjee. The first time I met him was in April 1996 when I joined Tata Steel, and I learned after joining that he had a role to play in my getting into Tata Steel, and a very significant role. I hadn't known him before, but it clearly shows that he made good decisions, because I've enjoyed my stay in Tata Steel, and a lot of credit to me being here is his. I've seen him closely as a technology leader, and when I was heading R&D, he was deeply involved in reviewing R&D work, and I saw how meticulously prepared he was before every meeting, and how you would ensure that the presentations that were made and the technology that was being talked about has been thoroughly researched, and the right data with the right R squares. I'm sure people who have been in R&D at that time know what I mean. You can't draw a straight line through 3 points. Was something he would insist, because we would draw correlation curves through very sparse data points. Of course, that's just to give an indication of the depth to which he would go in his reviews. But more than his technical reviews, I was privileged to work with him closely in organizing multiple seminars, and also in the editing of several journals. The quality that he brought in through his meticulousness, through his technical depth in the in-house journals, the steel, it was called Tata Tech, and the annual technical journal, I forget its name now. Anybody from Tata Search? Yes. Was the hallmark of Dr. Amit Chatterjee. He brought Tata Search up to international journal standards. But more importantly, I think it's the humanness of the person. I've traveled with him to several cities, and it's obviously it was difficult for him to travel, and a lot of credit goes to Mrs. Chatterjee for assisting him in the travel, but his spirit was indomitable. The interviews that we held at the various institutes were of course, a delight to be on his side of the table, and I'm sure not so delightful to be on the other side of the table with the questions that he would ask. But even more delightful were after the official event. So he would know exactly which food joint to go to. He would know exactly what drink to have at which place. So whether it is Bangalore or Banaras, it was an absolute culinary delight to be with him. And those who have traveled with him would know what I mean. And I would just end up saying that a lot of organizational capability was imbibed into people who have worked with him. I worked closely with him in a IIM ATM in the late 1990s, early 2000s. It was held in Jamshedpur. And he would be planning to the minutest detail as to who would drive the car for the last 5 guests out of 700 guests. To that detail, the number of the driver, the name of the driver, and who would be following up with the driver. It was an international conference, and he was a perfect bridge, having his background in the UK and in Thyssen, and having spent so many years in India. He was a perfect bridge between the West and the East, and he made sure that the international conference part of the ATM started on that international note, bridging the East and the West. I remember he had music being played, which was Mozart's 41st, and Itna Na Mujhse To Pyar Badha, which was based on Mozart's 41st. So, a person who was not only a technology giant, a culinary expert, a person who was deep into social activities and in music and arts, a real polymath of our times. It's a real honor to be speaking about him today, and I wish the conference a great success. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bhattacharjee. So now I request Dr. Achinto Kumar Das to please come and say some words on Dr. Chatterjee. Dr. Das graduated from Jadavpur University in metallurgy in the year of 1973. Then he joined GKW Limited as a graduate trainee engineer. After that, he joined Tata Steel Limited, and he did his MTech and PhD from IIT Kharagpur. It's very important to mention, he obtained his PhD under the supervision of Dr. Amit Chatterjee. Dr. Das has received several awards and honors, amongst that Metallurgist of the Year, Asia Gold Medal, and Vishwacharya Award are very worth mentioning. With this, I request Dr. Das to please come onto the dais and say a few words. Thank you so much.
Good morning, friends. Thank you, Tanmay. You know, the true profile of a person is in his or her acts. And therefore, I'll try going down my memory lane and share with you how this person touched the life of so many, including mine. Basant Panchami was on 5th of February in the year 1976. And a boy of about 24 somehow managed, it was raining, somehow managed to get into an office inside Tata Steel Works. He had a job interview. And before he could catch his breath, he was called inside, only to find that this interview is not really an interview but a rapid fire round. 4 or 5 persons sitting around a conference table and asking questions relentlessly. So the boy could answer whatever he could. There was one youngish person who was speaking in a very aggressive tone, and his last question to the boy was, "What is oxygen bottom blown process?" The boy didn't know the process well, but he tried to answer. And then came the remarks, "You do not know the process." That was the end of the interview.
But the boy got the appointment letter. By now, you must have guessed that the boy was yours truly, myself, and that the youngish person who was speaking in an aggressive tone was Dr. Amit. As I joined, I found that youngish person, aggressive person, was the one who I had to report to. And that point in time, I was hesitating whether I took a right decision to join this company. But the first sentence he uttered was, "You did reasonably well in the interview." And that stuck such a good chord in my head. I realized that this person is very upfront and he can be aggressive and no sugarcoating when he wants to make his point. But he has the generosity and sporting spirit to appreciate even small good things. Just about a year later, I registered for PhD and he was my supervisor from Tata Steel End. And when I started working, I found that both regular work and my special work for PhD, he was a very good guide in the sense that he never tried to get into specifics. He left it for the juniors. But then he used to give an excellent overview and set the directions very clearly, and that kind of guidance proved to be very, very useful for all, not only for me. My PhD was in steel making, and the experiments were in a small R&D furnace, and then I reacted one water model also. And when I showed the result to him, he said that this needs a validation. Then I was foxed. How do I validate? Where do I get bulk liquid steel for these kind of experiments? He said that, okay, I'll arrange for you. We have several 200-ton furnaces in this place. And then he obtained the necessary permissions for me to carry out the experiments and organized all the resources needed for those experiments. And I remember that I was overwhelmed. That was the supportiveness of Dr. Chatterjee. My PhD work was done, so I had to write it. By that time, Dr. Chatterjee was the managing director of the Tata Sponge, Tata Epicol Sponge Iron with Orissa government. He was very, very busy. And when I said that I want to show you my drafts, he said that come at 8:30 in the evening or come at 9 o'clock in the evening, that kind of thing. But he looked at the drafts and then he remarked, like my interview day, that you will not get PhD with this kind of write-up. And after that, he mentored how to develop a technical communication, how to divide a chapter into sections, subsections, sub-subsections. And that learning is perhaps still in my head. Probably a few years before or around the same time, one of our colleagues met with a bad accident. His eyes were hurt and he was not able to see anything. And so for better treatment, he was being sent to Delhi. So we all came to the Tatanagar railway station. Dr. Amit was also with us. And then we saw him off, the train left the station. But where is Dr. Amit? We spotted him at the far end of the platform, weeping profusely with tears rolling down his cheeks. And this kind of deepest empathy we only read in novels. My PhD thesis was refereed by international and national referees as usual, and it was okay, and so I had to defend my thesis. IIT Kharagpur arranged the defense session there, so myself and Dr. Chatterjee, we drove down to Kharagpur. However, they organized the session on the top floor of the metallurgical building, the third floor of the metallurgy, though there was no elevator. And that time, during that time, Dr. Chatterjee was diagnosed of a very difficult disease, neurological disease called multiple sclerosis, and his limbs were getting weaker and losing control. I was busy in trying to bring down the session down to the ground floor, but Dr. Chatterjee tapped my shoulder and said, "Ochinto, I will climb to the third floor." And he did climb. And this mental courage, with this mental courage, he was able to defeat a difficult disease like multiple sclerosis. He was wheelchair bound for the rest of his life, but like Stephen Hawking, he kept on, and I do not recall that he gave up any activities for his physical limitations. 2013, my son got married, and Dr. and Mrs. Chatterjee, they came to bless the new couple. And Dr. Chatterjee on wheelchair was in a corner of the less crowded corner of the wedding hall. I noticed from a distance that he and my 91-year-old mother, they were engaged, they were deeply engrossed in conversation, as if they knew each other for ages. And that time it stuck in my mind, perhaps in my previous birth, Dr. Chatterjee was my elder brother, and that's why my mother also knew him. In the meantime, before 2013, I used to drop into his office, and over a cup of coffee I used to discuss various issues regarding my life, regarding my career, various other things, and he used to advise me just like my elder brother. 2014 April, a few days after the Bengali New Year, I came and met him in his new residence. He changed his residence from Kapali Road to Circuit House area. And I was coming from Calcutta, so I bought a packet of sweets for him. And seeing that, he exclaimed like a child, "Look, Jenny," Mrs. Chatterjee's name is Jenny, "Ochinto has not forgotten my favorite sweets." We chatted for over 2 hours on politics, on Gen X and culture and movies and whatnot, not knowing that that's the last chat. And about 6 or 7 weeks later, he passed away, contracted by pneumonia. And I told Mrs. Chatterjee that I lost my elder brother. People come, people go, that's a natural law. But then some people leave a mark on the professional world and on the society and in the minds of individuals. I tell you for sure, the imprints in the individual's mind are simply indelible. Thank you very much for your undivided attention.
Thank you so much, Dr. Dash. So, we still cherish the credence and courage of Dr. Chatterjee even after a decade of his demise, and we nourish ourselves to face all difficulties in life and to overcome those. I request Mr. Praveen Chaturvedi, the Vice President and Head of Sales Upstream India of Tenova Technologies Private Limited, to come and speak a few words. Mr. Chaturvedi did his BE in Mechanical from NIT Rourkela in 1994. He has also done MBA from Symbiosis. He started his career in ECC L&T, and now he is heading the sales of Tenova in India. Thank you so much, Mr. Chaturvedi.
Thank you, Dr. Tanmay, for giving an introduction about myself. So, good morning to all of you. Thanks, Steel Tech, for giving this opportunity to speak a few words on Dr. Chatterjee, Dr. Amit Chatterjee. I consider him as a doyen of iron and steel. Though I have never worked with him directly, I previously read his book, one of the book which Mr. Bhaskar was mentioning, Iron Making and Steel Making, Theory and Practice. Later, I got opportunity to interact during 2012 in the same conference, Steel Tech conference, but at that time it used to be held in Taj, Bengal. At that time there used to be 2-day session, and of course lot of people used to be present. And subsequently I met him in the next couple of seminar organized by Steel Tech. Here I would like to add from the professional point of view that he was great visionary and he has supported the alternate route of iron making. You know, that is the DRI route, and the coal-based DRI plant at Zoda, you might all be aware of. That is a sponge iron. And there he has put one road called HYL road. So you might have seen that HYL road has come from our Tenova HYL. And he has always insisted our HYL management to keep focusing on research and development related to hydrogen-based DRI. There was a phase in last decade, as you might be aware, most of the people in Asia, including India and China, they were moving towards the blast furnace route. And in European nation and in US, they were focusing on the scrap. But now you see what he told in the beginning, 10 years ago, the same thing is coming true. You know, and you might be observing that most of the people, the steel maker, whether it is in US, Canada, or Europe, or even Japan, Korea, China even, they are moving for the DRI route steel making. That DRI basically, those are all hydrogen ready. So whatever research and development which we have put as advised by Dr. Chatterjee is now coming into the reality. So while going through his presentations, books, it gives us a feeling that yes, going back to the future. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chaturvedi. We have come to the end of this session. Now I request Mr. Pratish Kumar Sen, the CEO and editor of the Steel Tech Journal, to please take over for the inaugural session of this international seminar. Thank you.